Hi, this is Daniel Hutchins, and today we are going to talk about Morbius. Okay. Accidentally turning himself into a vampire, Michael Morbius finds himself torn between his human and monstrous natures. Okay. Nobel Prize winning biochemist Dr. Michael Morbius creates a cure for his rare blood disease that turns into a curse. Attempting an experimental treatment, he transforms into Morbius, a pseudo-vampire with superhuman powers, and an overwhelming bloodlust. Like a real vampire, Morbius needs to drink blood to survive. However, after drinking his victim's blood, his mind returns to normal, and he becomes fraught with guilt, remorse, and self-loathing. In the blood. From a young age, Michael Morbius lives with a rare blood disease in Greece. Fearful of her son getting hurt, his mother forces him to stay inside. His father, who is a filmmaker, author, and painter, was so often absent from his life that Michael could barely remember his face. Michael's mother keeps the family going by working in her father's bookstore. Still, Michael sneaks out of his house to play with his friend. During one of these excursions, Michael falls and gets seriously injured, which pushes Emil, which is someone that he knows, to promise not to let anything like that happen again. The duo goes off to college where they both study science so they could figure out the cure for Morbius' condition. The research into using vampire bat blood to make a cure earned a Nobel Prize. Though Michael's condition worsens to the point where he breaks a finger lifting a mug, but the prize money helps fuel the next stage of experimentation process. Wanting to perform the next leg of his research out on the ocean, for security's sake, he sets sail with Emil and his fiancée, though he is greatly conflicted about Martinez's safety on the vessel given the dangerous nature of the experiments. Feeling that death was imminent, Michael rushes an experiment to create new blood cells using electricity, wearing an insulated suit with a high collar that would become his trademark look. The procedure turns Morbius into a living vampire. He strikes out at Nikos and kills him, not wanting Martine to experience the same fate. He dives into the water and swims until a fishing vessel traveling towards New York City picks him up. A monster marvel. So Michael Morbius turns a weakness into a strength by focusing his natural intelligence towards finding a cure to the disease that ravages his body. He even gets to the point with his experimental study with how vampire bats might be able to help his condition, where he wins the Nobel Prize. He uses his intellect and prize money to fund the experiment that turns him into the living vampire. In his vampiric state, Morbius' face changes to look more bat-like. His bones also become partially hollow, which allow him to ride wind currents as he's flying. His new form also gives him heightened senses as well as increased stamina, speed, strength, and durability. He survives many a potentially deadly injury only to bounce back with barely a scratch. Unfortunately, all these wondrous abilities come about because he needs to feed on the blood of the living. While he possesses many traditional vampire strengths, self-regeneration, mild hypnotic powers, gliding on air, he does not have their same weaknesses towards the sun, garlic, and religious artifacts. He can regenerate injured tissue, but he is not invulnerable. If he has not consumed sufficient blood, Morbius' body has difficulty repairing itself. His hypnotic powers enable him to control even strong-willed persons. like Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, for a short time. Under certain unspecified circumstances, his bite can transform others into pseudo-vampires, like himself, through an enzyme deposited in their bloodstream. Such victims usually do not truly die, and they act purely on bloodlust, like true vampires. They possess none of Morbius's regenerative powers and die, or even disintegrate, upon being mortally wounded. During a time when Morbius was infected with Lilith blood, Lilith's demon children, he was temporarily granted eternal life and the ability to liquefy his body. His regenerative powers were also tripled during this period. Blood ties and allies. Morbius is one of the world's foremost experts on biochemistry and blood-related diseases. His expertise enables him to create an antidote for his victims, curing them of the pseudo-vampirism. Though the cure does not work on himself, Morbius sometimes wears protective leather bodysuits. Blood ties and allies again. Morbius' mother does her best to support her son after his father, a surrealist artist that walks out on them. She also attempts to keep him safe from the increasingly devastating disease in his blood. Michael mostly stays inside, but sneaks out with his one friend Emil, and of course, him and Emil go to college together in an effort to cure Michael's malady. There, he meets a young woman, and the pair becomes engaged. When Morbius' experiment turns him into a vampire, he kills Emil and abandons his girl for a fear of mortally injuring her as well, though Emil later returns vampirized by John Falsworth, aka Baron Blood, and attempts to kill Morbius, but Nico shows mercy. So there you go, guys. That's just a little bit of information about Morbius. If you get a chance, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks, and you guys have a nice day.